Hello everyone, welcome back to Spiritual Book Reviews. As you already know, this is for now schizophrenia and the spiritual principles that help schizophrenia, because I feel this is much needed in society. It's much needed in the treatment of a schizophrenic. And the tip I have today is that it's one of the number one things that I want to put out there, and it is grounding. And in order for a schizophrenic to understand grounding, they need to be healthy on medication, they need to be stabilized, and they need to be, healthy with psychology as well. And then once they're stabilized and well enough to understand this, it's something that I feel should be a part of their spiritual treatment for their well-being. But this isn't a substitute for medication or psychology. So this grounding technique comes from years of highly evolved spiritual communities. And the first thing, like I said, for a schizophrenic, there's like birds flying around out here. A schizophrenic needs to be grounded, and one of the most grounding things, from me being connected to God, being more highly evolved in spirituality, I learned from him that medication is very grounding for schizophrenic. Probably in my experience, it was the most grounding thing I could have, because without my medication, I was just flying high. I was in an altered state of mind, and there was no bringing me back from that without medication. But once I had medication, I realized that I needed grounding in my consciousness, and I guess in my subconsciousness as well. You have to realize when you're in an altered state of mind. And I don't know how you would do that, but I pay attention. I try to pay attention to my moods and stuff. And like, let's say for example, an altered state of mind is love. God helped me realize that too much love gets you high and not enough you die. And so love needs a balance. But let's say one is high off love. One maybe just got into love and has made all these promises to this person that they can't fulfill, or they are spending out of love, like they love a charitable contribution so much, they feel so bad about a certain situation, they want to spend all of their money on a charitable contribution, when the balance should perhaps have been better if they love their self as well and save some money for their self. So if love becomes unbalanced, you can become high off of it, just like a drug, or like a mood. And when you realize that you're in an altered state of mind, before making a decision, you should just slow down and stop and wait and just for a minute think about what you're doing and realize that you're in an altered state of mind. So when you realize that perhaps you're flying high or you're in an altered state of mind, you feel that you might make a decision that you might not normally make. The spiritual technique to help with this is called grounding. And what you do is, with any spiritual technique, you modify it and do it however it works best for you and your preferences, or your higher guidance might guide you into doing, but that's a whole nother discussion there. For now, what I do when I ground myself, I haven't really researched this, but I've created my own way of doing it. I first set my intentions, and what I do when I feel that I'm flying high, I set my intentions and I say, I'm coming back down to earth. Okay, and I put that out there. And once I have my intent set to come back down to earth, you realize that in the spiritual dimension, everything works off your imagination, and it's instantly created in the spirit realm. So um, it's a pretty well-known fact. Like if you believe and feel that, imagine that you have angels around you, there will be angels around you. And if you imagine, this is how people work with light workers. If you imagine light being in your being, if you will, light will be there. If you cover the earth with light, if you surround your house with light, God's light will be there. The spiritual realm works with your imagination. And whatever you believe is happening uses the law of attraction to create that even more strongly. And so when you imagine and believe it is so, you can do a visualization that will help you ground. So I was taught this by a Native American Indian shaman, which is a healer, and he said that what their tribe, if you will, or their group of people did to ground themselves was to picture gold coming out of, like if your legs or the tail end of your body through your legs are gold and it's weighing you back down to earth. And so you've set your intentions and you're picturing this and you're feeling this gold weighing you down to earth. It helps bring you back down. It helps ground you. If you believe it, if you imagine it, and you feel it, it will be there and it will weigh you back down. Some more earthy people use tree trunks, like their legs are tree trunks. And the roots are digging into the earth. There's also an energy center in the lower part of your spine, like the end of your spine, which is red. And some people use red to ground themselves because out of your spine in the etheric field, the spiritual dimension, you have a cord that connects you to the earth. So some people visualize that cord being red or silver and connecting them and rooting back down to the earth and pulling them down. So when you visualize this, you want to feel it. You want to feel like you're being pulled back down to earth. And the third step that I use is to be what I call grounded in caution. Now, I clearly want to distinguish this from fear, because some people say, well, fear helps me know what to avoid and helps me make decisions. But I read books called Conversations with God, and I feel that fear is nothing but destructive, especially with the law of attraction. Fear invites demons. It's just nothing but destructive. You don't want any lower emotions in your body like that, because it'll attract things that you fear in your life. So if you don't have fear, then what do you have? What you have is caution. You can't just be fearless and throw all caution to the wind. So what I've learned is to have caution in your consciousness. And when you come back down to earth and you root and you feel connected and you feel centered and grounded, you then want to think about your situation and you want to think, well, how do I be cautious? Like, I want to make a good decision, maybe from love and still all these good emotions, but what caution do I need? You let go of fear and you just think, what caution do you need now that you're grounded, to help you through your situation? And so these are the three major steps that I use in becoming grounded. I set my intentions, I visualize, I do a visual technique, I feel myself coming down to earth, and then I say, consider and just spend time thinking, like, what caution do I need in my situation that can help me make a higher decision? And when you introduce grounding to schizophrenics and people who are flying high, or people who are in an altered state of mind, any setback, any mood, you introduce the spiritual technique. Once they are well enough to understand it, you you can help your schizophrenic. When you see that they're ungrounded and flying high, say, hey, you need to ground yourself, and you can kind of teach this to them, or you can kind of teach this to yourself over a period of time. And this is one of the major healing, well, not healing, but like spiritual well-being treatments that I feel can really help any setback or any schizophrenic. So thank you, and subscribe below.